Hello.
Hello.
Today we have a kind of special edition. It's coffee break number 30. And second special is we have Kerrie Phipps from Australia. The first time we have somebody from down under. So welcome, Kerrie,
Thank
in
you,
this.
Jim. Thank you. Well, here's a little bit of Australia. I'm actually at the back of a hotel in the Blue Mountains, which is one of the most beautiful places. So you're just like here on the back of my car. So not your ordinary coffee break, and I've just got my bottle of water here, and I'm sorry I don't have much voice. So I'm so happy to talk to you because we've been waiting like weeks to find some time that we could connect. And there you are in India. Are you in Mumbai?
Yes. So I'm currently in Mumbai. You're in Australia, and
Yeah.
our main audience will be in Europe. So yeah, it's kind of like a triangle
Yeah.
edition today.
We're crossing the globe. I love it.
Yeah. So how are you doing? You already told that your voice is not that well. How are you doing?
Otherwise, I'm good. I'm good, and I'm so happy to be here. This is like one of the most delightful places in the world. Um, and I said to my husband just now as I was driving up this road that's just epic. And I said, we just need a camera. Like, we just need to press a button on the steering wheel with like a camera on the roof so it can capture all this magnificence. Because if he was with me, if he was driving, well, actually, I drive on the mountains because I get car sick. But I would have him out the window going, take photos, because the mountains are just absolutely stunning. So just, if anyone's unsure about that, just Google Blue Mountains, Australia images, and you'll see it. So I've had a cancellation tomorrow morning, so I'm going to spend some time in the mountains just enjoying nature, which is beautiful. And then I'm going to the Happiness and Its Causes conference. So I might meet some people who know you, Jim. So we connected because of your happiness conference. So for my friends down under and across Asia, and I've got a few friends in the UK as well, tell us about your conference, because that's the reason that we connected.
Yeah, we last June we organized for the third time. We organized Happiness at Work conference, and
Yeah.
in fact, it was like an experience because we added music, we added smells, we added visuals, we added like we want to get kind of rid of the classic boring PPT conferences,
Yeah.
and we spoke about yeah. Happiness at work and what needs to be done in the workplace to get people more happy.
Yeah, so that we're more productive and more connected. And so I would love to know what you've been doing in Mumbai and wherever else you've been in India. That's one of my favorite places, is where I was just at the start of the pandemic. So people are asking, when am I coming back to India? And so I'm delighted that you are there, taking some happiness I mean, there is so much happiness in India. There's some incredible people there doing some great stuff. But tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, we just came from Delhi. There we had a training in a company who really like is like the CEO is like a visionary, and he wants to bring his people really to towards happiness. So what he saw was that he was like kind of losing connection with his people, younger people coming in. So yesterday also I met somebody in India, and they are getting aware of the fact that like the classic company need to do something to be able to connect with millennials and with Gen Z. So I developed a scan to see like the gap between the organization and then the employees. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here in India. But also, we have some big plans with in the future with happiness at work, with just in general improving.
Just muted myself for a loud vehicle just then. I'm not quite in the middle of nature, as you can see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's wonderful. So it's been a while since I've looked at happiness research, And I wonder, what would you say to people, because I'm thinking of a particular friend right now who, says, it's not about being happy, it's about, grit, determination, just, getting through. We have tough times, and, tough times don't last, tough people do. And so for people who are just kind of going, happiness is not something I need to focus on, what's your response to that?
Yeah, that's like, it's always like, some people say you first need to be happy to attract things, and then the other thing is like when you really have like a purpose, yeah, then you need that purpose to be happy. So it's not like, okay, I want happiness and I just like get it. But what I see when I'm in India, I mainly like see unhappy women, and that is for me, it's like striking. So we were in a mall some days ago, and I was just like observing women there, and like the traditional India, it's like really like with that male dominance, and you see like women are like really suffering. But you see, and I estimate like 20% of the women, they are breaking out, and that will like really create like a revolution in India. These women, they want part of the power, they want the attention, they want yeah, get rid of the old masculine dominance.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm thinking of some very inspirational Indian women that I've connected with. And actually, one I met in March 2020 in the lift, and we had an amazing conversation. And then the next day we had breakfast, and then we did a little video. I just was asking her, she just had this aura of confidence and happiness, and it was just easy to connect with her, whereas a lot of the women I interacted with were, quite shy. And then I just found that one of my friends from Singapore was speaking to her Rotary Club, and connected with her. It's like, oh my gosh, such a small world. But when you've been in the speaking and coaching world for a while, you do tend to cross paths and find that people, you kind of start connecting with the same people. And I actually had an assistant in India who is now studying in Canada, and just she's an absolute delight, really lighting up her world wherever she goes. And you're going to Singapore next, or is that possible? Or
Yeah,
we
that's
just had, 2 minutes chat before we went live, so I don't know if I've just given away something.
yeah. No, but yeah, the conference we spoke about in June, there the government of Singapore, they were watching the conference. They organized like a local debate to discuss like all the content of that conference. But also in the conference we used yeah, smells to see like kind of to pump up the experience, and one of the smells we have is like really linked with the topic we have. Like we have like it's like a full box we developed. I don't know if I can like really show it. It's a full box of it's
It looks
combination. Yeah, it's a combination of smells and music. And one of the things we sprayed during the conference was this one. So that's connection.
connection, a
It's
multi-sensory kit. Okay,
yeah.
well, I love
So
that.
yeah, this one we sprayed before Claude Silver, the first chief heart officer in the world, came on stage. We sprayed this, and it really like people smell then like what's in it, and in this one there's like cinnamon in it. Now it's proven that the moment that people smell cinnamon, they start talking to each other. So, and it's kind of creating like that cinnamon, people think then about family and about cake and about like being cozy and these things. So and the government of Singapore, they are doing trials. They are like always like advanced on a tech base, and they combine that also with VR, and that's why we might yeah, fly to Singapore one of the coming days, yeah, to discuss if they have the time,
That's
the possibility.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes, whenever I go to like an Indian's, like a friend in Australia, an Indian friend, and they offer tea, I'm like, yes, thank you, because it always has cinnamon in it, and so I wonder how this might be different across different cultures, like where cinnamon is a big part of. I always think of my first. I mean, maybe it was not my first tea, but it was the first tea that was served with love, and that was in Coimbatore. Shout out to Dr. Ram at the huge GRD college. It's an international business school, and masters in commerce, and yeah, they do incredible. They just have thousands of students come through every year, and everywhere I go in the world, people know GRD and they know Dr. Ram, which is amazing. I've met people in Australia who know him, and Kieran Betty, who he introduced me to. She was a governor of Puducherry recently, but an influential voice in policing in the world. Another very inspirational Indian woman and tennis champion. And I saw yesterday she was going out to play tennis because Sunday. Yeah, oh, that's lovely. I've got so many friends in Singapore. I was in and out of Singapore a lot pre-pandemic, since 2015 mostly, but I first went there in December 1999. Mm-hmm. So a different place now. They didn't have Marina Bay Sands. They've just built out this whole, reclaimed land area, and it's incredibly stunning. And like you said, there's so much forward thinking and innovation. What they're doing there is just incredible. Yeah. So
and for the connection, we are now in India. We are now checking, because it might be that not all layers of the population are like feeling the same, having the same experience with cinnamon, because it's really linked. It's like kind of NLP. These products are really NLP. So the moment that you smell something, it's linked in a lot of cases to kind of a memory, something that happened in the past. We have another one that see
happiness. And what does that smell like?
That's like there's lemon and orange in it. It's like high frequent. It's nice. And young people, mainly young people, when we did the trial 2 days ago, that was the favorite of the younger people. But
it sounds like it smells joyful.
It's like really, we ended in the conference. We ended with this one. Really, in the end of the conference, like that, it was the highest frequency energy. That was in the end. We ended up with that one. But this is like really helping to have like a conversation. Like you just ask people, smell, and the conversation starts. So and as you are kind of an expert how to talk to strangers, this might be like an experiential element to improve that.
I'd love to be in one of these conference experiences, because conferences really do need a do-over, and it is about the connections that you make in the room, isn't it? And I think, like, one of my friends, she's also been on my podcast. She's just done a conference in the US. She's a breast care surgeon, and it sounds more like they had an experience. They had speakers on the lounges, and more conversational, and just everybody having conversation, because there's so much wisdom in the room, and I think when you let people connect with each other, that can be incredibly powerful. But we go to conferences. People assume that like I'm a really confident person because, my message is connect with confidence or do talk to strangers. I created the Connect with Confidence program after probably a couple of years into having the book. I published Do Talk to Strangers in 2014. That's my third book. But I did that really in response to people saying, how do you meet these people? Because I'm just be telling a story about like, I was on the train in Sydney the other day and I met this person, and then this like cool thing happened and they introduced me to this person. And when people started asking me like why and how, and I started thinking, well, maybe this is my next book. Maybe I need to write about talking to strangers and the joy of talking to strangers. And it was actually someone in my audience that suggested the title, Do Talk to Strangers. There's that. So a little confronting for some people. But then, I've been invited to some countries where they say, we want your message. Can you talk about connect with confidence? But But don't say do talk to strangers, because that's a bit confronting.
Yeah.
But we do. We talk to strangers every day. Like when you're buying a coffee, when you're getting on and off a bus. And these are moments where we can have a meaningful connection with somebody. When you say thank you to somebody. So I had a connection with somebody today. This road trip, we have had so much rain. It's ridiculous. I know my relatives in England have been checking in with us about our weather because there's just been so much flooding. So our roads are a mess. There is so much road work going on. And, there's a lady standing there with the traffic sign to stop traffic one way while they're doing roadworks. And I could see that she probably should be stopping me, but she was looking the other way and there's a car coming towards me. So I just kind of slowed down, and then she turned around and saw me and then quickly flipped the sign and looked really embarrassed. And I'm just like waving. And she just kind of we had this shared moment of like, oh my gosh, I dropped the ball for a moment. And it's like, it's okay. There was just this shared connection. And as I drove up, I could see she was like relieved that she didn't get abused, because sadly, people working in jobs like that get people yelling at them, and it happens more than we know. Like my dad always stops and gives them a block of chocolate and says, I hear you get a bit of abuse, and they're like, oh, stacks. Like I was with him the other day when he did it, and he's like, well, hope this like offsets it a little bit. It's like just little interactions that can lift someone's day. And I just think that if we just walk through life with our eyes open and sort of we do need to like look at this sometimes for directions or whatever, but if we can, when possible, just be present with people, and even if it's just momentary, but we can just give them a gift of attention, just noticing them, because a lot of people go through life not feeling noticed or worthy, and it says like, I see you, and that really, really matters.
Yeah, for sure. Here in India, like the women and for sure the like the maids and the serving people, they are always like so shy and like they don't dare to look at you, and then when you just say hello, or they their complete energy changes, like whoa, I'm allowed to speak to, or I'm allowed to say hello to white men. It's completely, for them it's like it feels like uplifting. Then they feel something, and otherwise they are like really like small and just shutting down everything what is inside them. Now
we can feel small if people tell us that we're small, but if somebody notices us, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can see myself a little differently.
Yeah. But when you are, for example, in the train, you always start talking to strangers?
Oh, not always, but sometimes. Like one guy, I looked across and I thought, there's just something about this guy. Like he was actually reading a book, but the way he was like just giving it full attention. But every time the train stopped and the doors opened, he looked up as if he was ready to connect, like ready to smile at people, and they just didn't see him. And I thought, and my granddad, he was like 95 at the time, 96 or 97. And he just says to me, he's very black, isn't he? I think he's from Nigeria. I'm like, well, I don't know, but he was immaculately dressed. He had a suitcase. I'm like, he's going to the airport. And I just felt like I'd love to have a conversation with this guy. But he's like further away. Like if he was just directly across, I could have said like, oh, how's your book? But he was like a distance. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to say hi. Anyway, I stood up before getting to the next station, which is when he was standing up, and we just connected and we had a great conversation. And then he missed his stop, and so he got off at the next one and went back to the airport station he needed. But by the end of the day, he'd sent me like a lengthy email with an email signature that just blew me away. He was like a co-host on the Oprah Network. He was an actor and model, and but just the sweetest person. And his name's Preston Pollard. He's a professional skateboarder from Alaska. So Granddad was a bit off when he said Nigeria. I'm like, it's actually from Alaska. But like Preston's just doing beautiful work in the world. And I met up with him in Sydney multiple times in the years that followed that. And that was more of a daring like move to go and say hi, because it was just that space that was, and you kind of feel like people are going to be looking at me because they're not used to people talking to strangers on the train. So it's not everybody. Like I'll just say good morning to someone, if I catch their eye, or Like one day I saw this old lady sitting opposite me, and I just wanted to catch her eye and say good morning, but it's like she was deliberately looking down and looking away from people. And I just thought, oh, she's just so conditioned to, because people say, oh, people don't talk on the train. They do, but sometimes people have learned, like I said before, to be small, to kind of hide away because they think that people don't want to engage with them. But tell you what, old people have the best stories. And if someone wants to build their confidence, just taking notice of older people and kids, and just, you know, in an appropriate way, so you're not freaking out any parents, but, you know, just smiling and waving, starting with that, especially old people when you walk past their garden and you just go, wow, you've got such a beautiful garden. You must put in so much effort. And they're like, oh, they come alive, you know. And if you like gardening yourself, you're going to get a few tips. But
Yeah.
you never know. You never know who knows people. And, you know, I think it's like the Pretty Woman moment, you know, where she has people not want to sell to her because they don't think she's good enough. You don't know who people are with. You don't know who they know, and you don't know their story. You know, I know a guy who goes into like luxury car dealers to buy a car, and he can afford them. He could pay cash, but he'll just go in his, you know, shorts and we call them thongs in Australia, flip flops, or yeah. But this is actually what they're called in Australia. And he will just go in like looking like he's just been on a building site or fixing a motorbike. And some people will treat him well and respect him, and they'll sell him a car. But if people just look at his outside appearance and go, no, haven't got the time of day for him, they're the ones that are missing out. You know, we just can't judge people. And I think everyone deserves respect. So it's important to keep connecting and making a difference.
Yeah, you use the insights of these conversations to build better relationships.
I think it's just a growing thing. I mean, I did, like, after friends challenged me. It took like 2.5 years to write this book, and my previous books were much easier because there was a lot of soul searching, but also putting it into a framework that made it simple for people to engage with. And so it's a coaching framework called the asking model. So that's actually available. I can see we're just about out of time. In my LinkedIn profile, if you go back through my featured posts, I think there is a, I've got sunset hitting me now. You can grab the first few chapters so you can get the asking model, which is there.
Okay.
Yes. Start small. Yeah, it doesn't have to be scary, but it matters, because I want people to know that their voice matters, that their kindness towards others, it matters. Because everyone needs a little kindness.
Yeah, and the effect of talking like as a manager or a CEO, talking to your people like just 15 days, 15 minutes a week with the employees. I know the effect on the the effect on the productivity of the people. I think it's far more than all the meetings they have together. Like when you just connect and engage with your people.
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't take long to be kind and to be interested in people, which is actually in the asking model as well. Interested in others. I'm so delighted to be connected. It was because of your conference, because of Claude, because I've been connected with Claude for a while. But then Isabel Pollen connected with me. And then I saw you talking to her. Isabel's my latest podcast guest. I don't know if you've seen that, but we did a fantastic podcast conversation. And my husband does the production. And he called it Hand on Heart, My Cheeks Hurt. Because that's what I was saying at the end of the conversation. Like, we literally were standing there talking like this. It was amazing. Yeah.
And yesterday I read the Kerrie Phipps. He's only doing conversations. So Claude Silver's boss is only doing conversations for 15 minutes. But he's not like avoiding anyone. So in fact, like even as a stranger, you can talk to him. But okay, he's limited to 15 minutes. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, it's really challenging when you have a lot of people in your world. Like, how do we convey that we really do care about people? And and they need to understand as well that while you do care, there's a lot of other people that are kind of in line to know that as well. And I think we need to not have unreasonable expectations. You know, like if you have, say, 200 LinkedIn friends or Facebook friends, and you're connecting with someone who's got 4,000 or 5,000, and they probably have got 4,000 or 5,000 on other platforms as well. Yeah, they might like your post, they might comment on something, but it doesn't mean that they've actually got time to engage with all of it. And I think that can be really hard to manage expectations, because you can't say, you know, do you know how many other people I've got to see today? Like that kind of doesn't come across well. So I'd be interested to to hear Gary's thoughts on how he navigates that, because sometimes it can be overwhelming when you have a lot of people in your world, and you would find that too. And when you get home from, you know, being with so many people in India and Singapore, like your world just expands all the time. And yeah, so I think I just want to show up present with whoever I happen to be showing up with each day. Yeah. So I'm a work in progress. I think we all are.
Yeah. So if you are interested in having an experience, a happiness at work experience or conference in Australia, let me know. Your voice did very well. Even
I'm feeling so much better. I just needed to drive through stunning countryside today, I think, to just let go of like whatever this is, a combination of things. But yeah, well, I'm looking forward to the Happiness and Its Causes conference, and you never know who I'll meet there. But Kaylee Chu, who's actually, here she is, gorgeous girl, who's written in my most recent book, The Power to Talk to Strangers, to decrease anxiety, build confidence, and make a bigger difference in the world, which we can all do. Kaylee's written an amazing book called 100 Lunches with Strangers, because she went from being so shy and scared to talk to anyone to booking in 100 lunches with strangers, and she's had a whole lot more since then. And she wrote a book about it, and now she's speaking at the Happiness and Its Causes conference this week, which is super exciting. And then Saturday we've got a 100 lunches with strangers lunch, so we'll be meeting strangers and having lunch, and it's exciting to see, you know, where all those conversations can take people.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being our third guest, and we keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim. And shout out to Isabel and Claude. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.